Malcolm Young of AC/DC passed away at 64. He suffered with dementia for a long time, but people were still saddened by the news. While he was no virtuoso, he was one of the most influential rhythm guitarists in the history of rock. However, I ran across some really desperate and greedy marketing schemes over this. The very next day, there were ads on the internet that were selling Rest in Peace shirts for him. I'm aware that AC/DC can put their name on anything and it would sell like crazy. But they really couldn't have waited a while, at least until he was buried. I haven't seen any ads that say that 100% of the profits will go to causes to cure dementia. As a fan, it's insulting and distasteful. Hard to imagine how his family feels. Understandably, AC/DC's album sales will temporarily increase because of Malcolm's passing. A lot of people picked up guitar and got into rock music because of him and Angus. But celebrity deaths are exploited with Rest in Peace merch way too much. Lemmy Kilmister, David Bowie, Jeff Hanneman, and countless others have had merchandise made for them way too soon after their deaths. Cash grabbing is a touchy subject. There are plenty of fans of these people who are more than willing to buy a coffee mug with a birth and death year on it. Some people even complain that bands can't make this type of tribute merch fast enough. But at the end of the day, you have to remember that these people that you look up to are human beings. Yes, they may have touched your lives in some way or another, but they're just as deserving of respect as any street-level individual. When I refer to money grabbing, there are different ways of going about it. I'm talking about overpricing tribute shows, lazily making movies about the person's life, and selling merch knowing people will buy it out of emotion, regardless of cost. For months, it was hard to ignore Michael Jackson's death. On TV and radio, everything Michael Jackson was playing. His work was being listened to and watched more than ever. But then they made a movie. There were people, including his own family, who felt like it was profiting easily from his death. Years later, a tribute concert was organized for him, which, again, was exploitive money. Badly organized, exorbitantly priced, and featuring Gene Simmons, who publicly said Michael molested children. Could they have piggybacked more blatantly? Of course, this swine of humanity doesn't have to actively sell you anything. A lot of news outlets and internet personalities love to capitalize off of your emotions when a performer dies. All they have to do is word their broadcasts and videos correctly, and they can make plenty of ad revenue. Some of them don't even have to be supporters of said celebrity. If you dig into their past, perhaps they have biased or negative press on them. Suddenly, that thumbs down is turned upside down and they have nothing but nice things to say. Most of the time, I don't see any of them taking that ad revenue and giving it to the families of the deceased, or even towards a good cause. Got bills to pay? Great. Find a better way to do it. Personally, I don't like Slipknot at all. However, the day after Paul Gray died, the band held a press conference over it. That was the right thing to do. They weren't worried about selling t-shirts, they just wanted to pay tribute to a friend they've worked with for decades. Now, I'm not saying that paying respect to your band's dead guitarist by making shirts of him is a bad thing. In fact, it can be good for the fans and his legacy, but I do think that the musician's marketing team needs to show a little humanity. A good example is Gwar. When their guitarist Corey Smoot died, they set up the Smoot Family Foundation. This was to help his family pay for funeral arrangements, any debt he might have had, and even support his kid that wasn't born yet. Classy. Is it immoral to sell shirts of Malcolm Young to his fans? No. It is somebody they look up to after all. But to sell them the day after his death, I see it as highly questionable business ethics that needs to cease in every industry. If you want to preserve Malcolm's legacy, you don't need merch. You don't even really need to buy his albums, though his songwriting proceeds would likely go to his family. What you can do is go to your music room and play Nervous Shakedown with your buddies. Talk to them about all the times you saw AC/DC in concert and how you had to hide your copy of Dirty Deeds from your parents when you were younger. Memories are what can keep any legacy strong. Grind on.